Welcome to the Partnership Economy. This podcast explores the power of partnerships through candid conversations with industry leaders. Join our hosts, Dave Yovanno, CEO, and Todd Crawford, co-founder of unpack.com, as they unpack the future of partnerships as a lever for scale and an opportunity to put the consumer first.
Welcome back to the Partnership Economy podcast. This is your host, Dave Yovanno, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Patrick McKenna. Patrick is the CEO of DMI Partners, a digital marketing agency that he founded in 2003. Over the past 20 years, Patrick has grown DMI into a leading agency for affiliate and CRM services for some of the largest brands in the DTC, retail, and CPG categories. His industry expertise really shines through in our conversation. In this episode, we discuss how the partnership channel has changed over the last 2 decades. In the past, customers weren't as savvy when navigating ads, and agencies really had to educate brands on what partnerships were and how to create engagement. Today, the challenge lies with attribution, incrementality, and effectively finding new customers. Patrick gives a great breakdown on how to build successful partnerships with affiliates, commerce content partners, and creators, and with some great examples along the way. He also highlights what to avoid when creating a new partnership. I highly recommend listening to this episode for a deep dive into all things partnerships. Welcome back to the Partnership Economy podcast. I'm excited to announce this week's guest, Patrick McKenna, CEO of DMI Partners. Thanks for coming on the show, Patrick. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Good to be here, Dave.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, to start off, I know our listeners always enjoy hearing a little bit about the people that we're speaking with and the journey that they've been on. You're the CEO of a very successful digital marketing agency. Can you just maybe share a little bit about the milestones that kind of led up to where you are today?
Totally. Yeah, it's a great question. So I started DMI 19 years ago. I was only a few years out of college and started the business with my college roommate and teammate, formerly on the rowing team at Harvard University. When we started the business, our goal was really to become experts in sales and marketing. And the way to do that was really to become an agency, but our goal wasn't to be an agency at the beginning. And 19 years ago, the digital marketing ecosystem was very different from what it is today. But a lot of the kind of core tenets of how we went to market at those early stages hold true today in terms of, being really data influenced in how we make all of our decisions, really focusing on our clients, really building creative campaigns, leveraging the tools and the opportunities that the digital ecosystem provides, and driving success for our clients. And so, there's a lot of things that happened over the course of those 19 years, but, those core tenets remain the same. And I think the best thing I have is, picking my, partner in the business as my college roommate and good friend, kind of like, I think was a good starting point for the business, and then has really inspired us to kind of keep growing with really talented people. And today our team is just amazing and they drive tremendous results for our clients. And I couldn't say more about the great work that they do and the talent that they bring to the table.
Sounds like what you started with was just curiosity in digital marketing. And that's, led you to, basically build a great business. Really exciting to see that. So I would say as an expert, right, that you have become in this industry for a long time now, there's been a lot of evolution and changes, just especially in the last 5 to 10 years. Could you maybe share a little bit about what it was like starting out and compare that to, what it takes now for brands? I mean, you're mostly working with, some of the world's largest brands and smaller brands. Maybe you can share a little insight on the types of brands that you work with this, but, what was it like, cutting through the noise, connecting with customers back then when you first started 19 years ago to what it takes now and being more relevant to consumers today?
I think the biggest struggle we had back then was just familiarizing our clients and advertisers broadly in what was happening with the internet and what the marketing opportunities were. The other biggest difference is people used to click on regular old banner ads, buying ads on the homepage of Yahoo or on news article pages got really high click-through rates. The thing that has held true is just authentic experiences are really what wins out. When you're able to really, create value propositions for users who are viewing content, who are coming to websites, who are looking to get access to a product or to understand what the best product is for them, the more authentic that experience can be and the less feeling as if it's advertising, the better off that experience is going to be for everyone. It's going to be better for the publisher because it's going to be a more valuable engagement. It's going to be much better for the user, and it's going to be better for the advertiser. So always focusing on that element is really where we've seen the most success. When we started 19 years ago, there really wasn't much advertising even on the search engines. Social media didn't exist really back then. You couldn't advertise on Google even back then. So the world is very different from a digital ecosystem, but I think that the way we think about partnerships really kind of today really is the kind of the through line for all of that work. We actually launched our first affiliate program for Mitchell & Ness 18 years ago. And it was all about building those relationships. Mitchell & Ness is a licensee of the 4 major sports leagues. They make retro throwback apparel, and there's 1 million websites out there that are out there talking about Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig and Dr. J and Moses Malone and all of these historical figures, and finding those websites 18 years ago and trying to get them to want to promote our clients through an affiliate program was really the first place that we started building that authentic connection.
Just maybe shifting a little bit more into some of the tactics that your agency has really kind of pioneered and innovated is helping brands become a little bit more native with the content that's being published, something that you and I talk about as commerce content, right? All this content publishing, even from major media houses, right? CNN Underscored and all the Meredith brands, Condé Nast brands, they have full-blown shopping sections now within their websites, and they're talking a lot about products. Could you maybe share a little bit about that specific strategy that your agency deploys to help brands kind of, be a little bit more of instead of like being advertising around the content, their products and their brands are being talked about as the content itself. That's what we call commerce content. Can you share a little bit more about that concept and what you're doing there?
Totally, yeah. And I think maybe just to pull back a second, I think going back 18 years ago to start the conversation, I think might be helpful there because, the framing of partnerships is really the key to that. And so 18 years ago, we launched our first affiliate program for a client of ours, Mitchell & Ness. And it was really about creating these partnerships between content curators who were building content around, sports, former athletes, because they make a lot of retro throwback apparel. So looking at Mickey Mantle blogs and stat websites that were keeping track of NBA statistics and creating marriages between those websites that were talking about historical figures and this purveyor of goods for people who are interested in those products and that licensed apparel. And that was our first affiliate campaign that we launched. And that authentic partnership experience is really what drove success for that campaign 18 years ago. And that's really what we're doing today. And when you talk about those content commerce opportunities, it's really about providing, the publisher providing content to their audience that's valuable to them. That's, inline content that they're able to, demonstrate some value, whether it's a gift guide heading into the holiday season or a review of a product set. And then they're able to publish that to their audience, and then they're able to create engagement with advertisers where they're able to say, okay, well, let's look at all of the folks who are offering these mattresses or meal kits or exercise equipment. And then they're able to go through and really evaluate them the way they normally would, but they're going to create some engagement for their audiences, and they're going to get paid transparently to the user on a commission basis for those sales that they're able to drive through that. And I use them as a customer, right? If I'm looking to buy a gift for my mother for Mother's Day, I'm going to, go to CNN Underscored and see what, gift options they have and see if there's something that I think would stand out well for her. And so I think it's highly relevant content to their audience. It's a great engagement with the advertisers. Our role there is really to have the clients that we have, and we have tremendous clients who, best in class products. They do great work for their customers. And so to sell that story to our content partners and have them understand why this is relevant to that audience at that point in time. And obviously it has to work, right? Because they have to drive the revenue from folks. So it has to be relevant. And similar to the revolution that, Google put on paid search, where they, started adding click-through rate into the algorithm that defined who was going to rank higher in the paid search results. The same thing is really true from a commission standpoint in the content commerce world, where, those publishers, Condé Nast, CNN underscored, they're going to really focus on the partners that are going to be highly relevant and therefore drive the most revenue for them, because it's highly relevant to their audience, and so they're going to click through that and ultimately purchase that product. So
you previously talked about the importance of authenticity, like in the early days, even of starting DMI partners. How do you strike that balance, right? Because you're engaging that publisher, like you said, in that PR, business development sort of motion, but you're not like writing the content. You're not handing them an ad saying run this, right? You're trying to get them to buy in and understand the products and the brands that you're bringing to them. Can you maybe just share a little bit about how you strike that balance between authenticity? I'm assuming that in some ways you're trusting them to connect with their audience in their way. How do you do that?
Totally. I mean, so we 100%, they're writing the content, they're kind of doing the review, they're deciding, what should be featured where. We hope to guide them in that process to help them understand the benefits that maybe they may not see right away, or that what we see from reviews of the products later on. There's obviously some clients that have specific things that you can't really say, because we don't want them to be promoting something that's not really true. So we want to be really clear about that with each of the partners. But it's really kind of up to them to do that review. And it has to be done that way, right? Like they have to write the way their audience is used to, hearing from them. And that's going to be unique to the publication. And so that's, I think, where the authenticity kind of really comes home, is that we're telling them all of the reasons that we think they should like it. They should hopefully experience that as well, and get to experience some of the benefits of why this is a good product for their audience. But ultimately, they've got to communicate it in the style and the fashion that they feel is correct and rings true to their audience. So that's really where that stops from our standpoint, to make that really be authentic.
Yeah, what that also reminds me of is how brands are attempting to work with influencers or creators today. It sounds like a very similar sort of type of engagement between brands and creators. Are you also working with those types of partnerships for your clients?
100%. Yeah, I mean, the influencer marketplace for us is a rapidly growing area that we're focusing on, and really have been for the last 3 or 4 years, as we've been really driving a lot of those kind of authentic engagements. There's a lot of folks who would consider themselves influencers on various social media platforms. And for us, it's just from an efficiency standpoint, we've got to focus on the ones that are going to feel the most authentic. And so the strive to be really authentic there really starts at the beginning, really thinking about who the right audience is, who are the right folks who are going to be, feel like they're going to actually be people using the products and services of a given advertiser, and their audience is going to be highly relevant. The way they communicate, is similar to how the brand likes to communicate what they feature in their in their posts, in their whatever kind of form they're leveraging their influence in, making sure that those posts are relevant to what the client would want.
If you're enjoying this podcast and want to learn how partnerships can help your business, visit unpack.com, the world's leading partnership management platform.
What else should a brand avoid when trying to form a commerce content partnership, for example, with either a publisher or a creator?
I mean, I think the client, the advertisers that I think struggle the most, they don't necessarily take the time to do that analysis of how does what I'm offering at various points in time throughout the year marry up to that content. So just because I have a product that I think is really good, how does that, how can I leverage that quality product at various points in the year to create some engagement for a given audience? Because there has to be some element of seasonality of an event, of a promotion, of a product release, something that, you're able to leverage in order to create attention at a point in time. And that's really what's going to drive that. I think also advertisers really have to want to be competitive. They have to want to be trying to attack market share. They want to be thinking about who are the competitors that are out there that they're trying to attack, or they're trying to attack them from their position in the marketplace, and really think about how they can be aggressive when they're going after this content, whether that's from a commission standpoint, a promotion standpoint, or, again, featuring the differences of the different products. They have to provide some sort of compelling reason to kind of want to create that incentive for the user to take a chance on them. So
one thing I was really curious to get your specific opinion and insights on is the word affiliate. You and I have both been in the affiliate marketing industry for a long time, but in my experience, the word affiliate has been associated primarily with a pricing model, right? A commission on a sale, as opposed to display advertising, has many forms of pricing, right? The CPM, CPC, CPA. Do you think the word affiliate is kind of holding back the industry to evolving more, just because it's so closely tied to commission only?
My quick answer is no. I don't think it holds it back, because we're always talking about understanding and trying to create shared understanding. And I think having a common starting point of a commission-based engagement is a great starting point. And I think, we don't suggest to any of our clients that 100% of the work that we're going to do is going to be on a purely commission basis. We do have some clients where almost all of the work we do is on a commission basis. That's a very small number of clients, but we never would set that as an expectation. And similarly with a partner, we would never suggest that that's 100% of the only way we're ever going to engage with them. Like I just said, sometimes it's more profitable, quite frankly, for our clients to not have that structure. For the perfect engagement, a fixed fee structure where the partner is going to really understand what they're going to get out of the engagement, and we feel really confident that we're going to be able to drive a lot of revenue through that placement, we may lean in that direction. But I do think the common understanding of it being a commissionable partnership, where we're expecting that authenticity to go two ways. We want the advertiser to get a lot of value from a revenue standpoint, and we want you to be incentivized to be able to, place that in your, website or area of influence in a way that's going to create that maximum amount of engagement. I think makes, fundamental sense when you're starting the conversation. So,
and plus also in that arrangement, the brand isn't dictating as much, right? They're not handing an ad over saying just run this, right? Where they're in full control, including the risk of the response to that, right?
I think the other thing to understand too is I think the engagement between the advertiser and the partner is not extremely clear, right? So when you go buy an ad unit, think about the old 18 years ago banner ad on Yahoo, there was a leaderboard that you were buying, and that's what you were, paying a CPM for. When you're doing programmatic today, or you're doing OTT today, you know what you're paying. In the partnership affiliate landscape that we work in today, when we're engaging with CNN Underscored, we're not buying a specific placement within an article. We don't know exactly where the placement's going to be, the words that are going to be around that until it gets published. And at the point that we're making the marriage, we don't really have full transparency as to exactly what it is that the ad unit is. And it would be harder to kind of create a very tight box around that.
Yeah. What I'm just realizing is that I think truly, you're one of the few very experienced agencies who are more mature and evolved in your way of thinking. In fact, it sounds like your agency even started with this deeper partnership sort of strategy. I think a lot of people in the traditional affiliate marketing space have for decades now operated with this kind of churn and burn, very transactional. Give me a kind of a lower discount so I can run that coupon. Oh, you're not going to drop it that much. Well, I'm just going to go run the next competing campaign, and you know what I mean. It's a lot of cash back, a lot of loyalty rewards, campaign nature essentially. Very transactional, right? Without, like we've been talking about this whole time, going deeper to kind of understand, the products and get behind these brands and produce higher value commerce content in its many forms as the primary content that consumers are demanding today.
Yeah, 100%. I do think there's a lot of value to be had in the loyalty, in the deal, and the coupon partners as well. in some ways, the same level of creativity and strategy goes into how you create those partnerships and how you structure those partnerships, and even how you structure the promotional opportunities with the advertiser when you're going to those partners. And obviously there's a lot of return on dollars spent there as well. But I think as we see the industry move to focus more on incrementality and focus more on attribution, that's where we see us winning with our clients by focusing on those other kind of content commerce partners or on the influencer strategy, and really, because we're really trying to capture new markets, right? We're trying to capture new customers, new audiences, introduce the product to folks who may have, never heard about a hydro rowing machine, and they think that they need to go to a gym to be able to use a rowing machine. So
yeah, and that's the other thing that I think is driving growth for this entire industry is that change in consumer behavior. I think there's a lot of buying happening right now, a lot of consumerism. People are just buying a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of choice of things to buy. And it's not realistic that an ad is going to cut through today with all the noise that's out there, get somebody to respond to that ad and go buy in a unilateral sort of decision-making process. That just doesn't exist.
I think the challenge there is there's so much noise, right? And so how do you create the right strategy to find the path through the noise, to find the right circles of influence, the right influencers, the right websites, the right partners that you're going to be able to kind of create that really good engagement? Because it is a little bit, a brand is taking a little bit of a risk, right? When they reach out to even when they just reach out to a partner. And so you've got to do the right work up front to make sure that the strategy that you're employing, when you do that outreach, when you're finding that audience, that you're doing what you need to do in order to make sure that it's an authentic experience.
So, what you're saying is that it does require some work and some different workflows, to get started and to scale. So at a high level, if a brand were to come to you and ask if partnerships can really move the needle for their business, I mean, what would you say? Is that time and effort and investment worthwhile? Does it pay off right away? Does it require more work up front?
So we really believe in the channel. It will pay off. We see that consistently for our clients. It does take an investment, right? Like, it's not something that you're going to go and you're going to turn on a handful of partners, and then the next thing you know, you're going to be generating, 10, 15% of your revenue through the affiliate channel. Really, it's going to take an investment of time and energy of doing all of that work to think about the products, their release schedule, the benefits of, how their products work with different audiences at different points in time, and different events that are happening throughout the year, building the relationship, building the trust with all of the different partners, having them experience it, having them do a promotion and see some success from it. It definitely is going to take some time and investment from their standpoint.
I loved how we started this conversation because you took us back to a time when that information didn't exist. Like, you had an ad that told somebody about it, and maybe they would buy it and then keep it, but not happy with it. It's, stayed in the corner and never used, sort of thing. But now people can really flesh out, is this a good purchase for me or not? And it's, I think that's what's exciting, honestly, about this industry. I think that's what keeps us going.
100%. I think the more considered a purchase is, the better that customer is going to be too, right? So ultimately, an impulse purchaser can be great from a revenue standpoint, but if it's a really considered purchase, it's going to be a better customer because they're going to have thought long and hard about the different options available to them. And they're going to, be more likely to feel positive about the money that they've invested with our advertiser. And then they're going to be able to, feel better about providing a review for that, or coming back and purchasing again, or recommending it to one of their friends and using one of the other affinity channels to do that. So
I'm glad you brought that up because, we went back 100 years to talk about radio and TV, and up until recently, and even still now, we have abused the consumer. We've given them such a horrible, interruptive, disruptive, let's cram an ad down your throat in many different ways. And with this recent pushback, we're consumer, the privacy changes and people trying to block things and whatnot, This is the other big opportunity, I think, for brands. When I talk about being more relevant to the consumer, it's acknowledging the fact that they're fed up with this disruptive behavior from marketers for the last 100 years. And if you can find a way to forge a partnership with the folks that they're going to for trusted information about whether this is a good product or not, it does at the end of the day create a much better consumer experience, and we should all be excited about that.
100%. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's the goal of what we're trying to do here. Create that great partnership where there's value added to everyone along the way, and really kind of share in that engagement through an authentic experience.
All right, Patrick, we're getting towards the end of our time here, and I wanted to just final topic question to kind of put out there to you. I always love to ask about top trends that are on your mind. What trends are you noticing in the digital marketing industry today?
Yeah, for us, it's really, especially with some of the challenges in the broader economy, is really about making sure every ad dollar counts and really thinking about attribution, thinking about investing the dollars in the best places to get the return, in the short and medium and even long term. And so that's where we're really focused today, and that's really where we're seeing the most success from our clients broadly across the digital ecosystem, but even specifically within affiliate and partnerships, really looking at clients doubling down on finding the places where they're going to get the best return on their dollars and create new customer engagements. And that's where we're seeing the most success for our clients today.
Are you seeing more publications being open to partnerships, whereas in the past, they've been more focused on ads to monetize? Do you see that as a channel, as a trend kind of opening up where more publishers are open to the partnerships that you're looking for?
I think we are a little biased because that's partly our job is to create that. So I would say yes, 100%. But I think that's largely driven because that's what our team is doing out there. We're out there, knocking on doors and trying to create those connections. Demonstrate the value of this channel for those publishers, of those partners. And I think, tell the story of why other folks are seeing success and really demonstrate that value for them. And then as they test it and see the opportunity, they're able to then replicate that success for themselves.
Very good. And then how about any trends around the format of content? For example, video versus, mobile or any other form of posting, photos?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. There's a greater amount of video content and greater attention to video. I think partly that's being driven, from a continued move away from linear TV that we've seen over the last, 10 years. But I think also partly that's being driven by an investment in TikTok as a marketing channel and really creating video content for there. And so we see opportunities, more opportunities probably coming in the next 2-3 years to leverage this channel for video ads. So we're excited about that opportunity as well.
Excellent. Well, Patrick, thank you for joining me in such an insightful conversation. I'm very appreciative of your time here. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Dave. It was a pleasure talking with you as always.
It was great to look back at how much this industry has transformed over the years and what we need to be paying attention to today. As innovative partners like commerce content publishers continue to grow, brands have to take advantage of these opportunities to stay relevant and easily discoverable. As Patrick mentioned, there's a balance to perfect here between selling your brand to these partners while still allowing them to give their authentic opinions. One point that really stood out to me was the importance of seasonality. Patrick really highlighted that brands have to think about the timing and the relevance of their product when reaching out to partners. Marrying your partnership with the right season, event, or promotion is hugely important to building out your strategy. Patrick also provided some strong tips on how to make sure that you're investing dollars in the right places to get short, medium, and long-term returns. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us on the Partnership Economy podcast, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Partnership Economy, brought to you by Impact.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the show and rate and review it on Apple Podcasts.